And so that was the motivation. That's the why behind like why we're going to go big and we're going to go fast into what we need to do to get to the point where we can have the things that we want, which is the time freedom to make memories and to have experiences and to live that life with Nico for the however long we have.
Right.
Welcome to Our Family Invests, the podcast where successful couples come together to share their inspiring stories of balancing family, life, and business. We're Mike and Caroline Neubauer, husband and wife entrepreneurs striving to live our best lives with our family at the center. This podcast celebrates the couples who inspire us, invest in each other, and raise those around them to the next level. Join us as we explore their challenges and victories. Let's learn, share, and grow together.
It's our first podcast, January 1st, 2025. Our Family Invests kicking off. And normally we would have guests, but today we're going to
go into like just a little bit about each other. Like let's take one podcast on me and we'll do one podcast on you just to kind of get to know the hosts, and then we'll start bringing in guests, right?
Yeah. Are you excited?
I am excited.
Okay.
Are you?
Yes, let's dive in.
More coffee.
So, more relight. So, Mike Neubauer is our guest today, our co-host. So let's dive into who you are. You're a husband, a father, a retired firefighter, a real estate investor. How did you get from firefighting to real estate? Let's start there.
Okay, yeah, firefighting. So, a few years ago, firefighting, well, more than a few years ago now, but firefighting wasn't really on the radar 15 years ago, right? I was a photographer, went to the Art Institute, studied photography and graphic design, and like that's the route that my life was heading down, right? And then, one of my clients was a group of firefighters that kind of encouraged me to take the test. Hey, you're only going to work 10 days a month. You can do your photography on the side days, and like you're not making any money with that anyway. This way you'll get insurance and a steady paycheck, and that all sounded amazing, right? So I took the test and the doors kept opening and I kept walking through. And so, in 2011, I got hired on by the Maui County Fire Department. And it was fantastic. I met a lot of amazing people and traveled around, worked at all the stations in Maui County. And, when I settled into Kihei, which is where I wanted to be. And my senior firefighter over there was a real estate investor. And he shared with me all this knowledge. And I took and I just consumed that stuff, right? And so this was Steve, and so we would bounce ideas back and forth off of each other, and I would ask him so many questions, and I just saw firefighting has a ceiling, right? Sure. You can only make so much money. You can only get so far ahead, right? But with the real estate investing like he was doing, he was kind of dabbling with it on the side. It wasn't really like his profession. It was just kind of like a hobby, but he was making a ton of money off of it, and it was relatively passive. So we kept going down this rabbit hole of like, hey man, how does this work, right? Tell me the ins and the outs. And he was so great and so generous with the data and everything else. And he really held my hand trying to get me to understand like, hey, this is why this works. This is why this doesn't work. And I was hooked. And so, the rest, right? You were kind of along for the ride for the first part.
I was, but our audience isn't.
Right. Yeah. No. That is true. So anyway, we got into that probably about halfway through my firefighting career. We actually started getting into the first rental properties and actually building out an ADU onto our house.
How many years did it take of learning from Steve before you took the first step?
That's a great question. And this may be because I'm a slow learner, but it probably took, from the time that I met Steve and really started getting into real estate and understanding all that stuff, it was at least a year to 2 years before we did anything, right? Yeah. So we had to plan things. I had to convince you that it was a good idea that we could rent out part of our house. Yeah. That was not an easy task.
Yeah, just to give perspective that it wasn't an overnight thing.
No.
Yeah, it wasn't just reading a book.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, okay. Lots of books.
So with that, yes, lots. So with that, did you always know you wanted to be an investor?
No.
Or did you have vision for what your future self was going to do?
I went to art school, babe. Like, honestly, like, this is what I wanted to do.
But you're really good at art.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
But art, there's a reason that there's a moniker starving artist, right?
True.
Like, I was starving for years. And honestly, being a starving artist is kind of what helped us become successful real estate investors.
Right. It also helped us live within a certain amount of means too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And really, I think that's a key component that so many people that invest in real estate are missing, right? They just see like, oh, I'm now making all this money, so
Now
it
I'm gonna
becomes
spend it.
very easy to spend it and to keep up with the Joneses and to, be on these higher levels and have the McLarens and the, all the fun toys. That's cool. But if you don't understand budgeting, man, all that stuff can get taken away very quickly.
I think it was actually from Mel Robbins on one of her guest episodes, was that if you can't afford 2 of them, you shouldn't buy 1 of them.
Ooh.
And I actually really liked that.
I like that too.
When you
That's
mentioned
cool.
McLaren, so
Yeah.
we're not going to get one of those.
No, we'll get 2.
Okay. Well, let's move on about family life. So tell me about your family. What role did they play in getting you to where you are today?
Yeah, I love that question because my family played the entire role of getting me where I was. So as a firefighter, I knew that I'm not the most skilled firefighter. I knew that my time there was probably limited because of my build. Like, I'm not built to do this until I'm 65 years old. I'm a pretty thin guy. And it's a pretty physical job. So I looked around at my family, and when we had Nico, our son, he started, 2-3 years old. He's starting like, Daddy, why are you going to work? Don't go to work. Stay with me. Stay. And that is contagious. And it's like, I don't want to leave, right? I want to stay with you. And so I kept thinking like, okay, how can we get to the point where I can stay home every day? I can have every breakfast with him, every dinner with him. And, he goes off to school and that's great, but I'm going to see him every day when he gets home. Right. And so that was the motivation. That's the why behind like why we're going to go big and we're going to go fast into what we need to do to get to the point where we can have the things that we want, which is the time freedom to make memories and to have experiences and to live that life with Nico for the however long we have with him.
And to be fair, the fire life, and there are an array of schedules, but the way ours worked, it helped us to have that time freedom to be able to build the portfolio, but it was a lot of nights away and health risks, of course, too.
I love the fire department. It was a great job. It gave you the opportunity and the flexibility to involve yourself in other things. Yeah. So whatever your passions are or whatever, yes, I could have shot photography for years on the side, and I did. And I wrote 2 books, right?
You did.
And that's great, and that was the first taste of passive income. But it also allowed me to pivot and say, when we saw real estate was, a place where we could really bring in a substantial amount of income, okay, well, let's move the river,
Yeah. Pay more for photography or real estate.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump back to your kind of origin story, including your wife. Ooh. How did you meet your wife, according to you?
So I met you. I met my wife. Are we doing the third person thing here?
It depends on your answer.
Okay. I met my wife on
Tell me about her.
Wailea Beach, and the reason you're asking this question is because you love this story, and honest to God, this is 100% true. Okay, so we were on Wailea Beach. I used to teach Hawaiian culture and canoe paddling at the Four Seasons. And so I'm down there. It's the last run of the day. We would take out guests from the hotel and teach them about all the stuff that they're seeing out in the ocean and the islands and all that kind of stuff. And we opened it up to locals as well. So you didn't have to be staying at the Four Seasons.
Which was super cool.
Super cool. Yeah. And so I know you had a friend whose dad worked there, I think, and she had maybe convinced you to go out on the canoe program, right?
I think we were on school break.
Right. Okay. So I saw you standing at the top of the stairs. There's a big stairways that comes down to the beach there. And I saw you standing at the top of the stairs, and I looked over to my buddy Rob, who was another paddler with me, and I said, oh my God, I think I'm in love.
Hey family, real quick. If you would prefer to watch your content, head on over to Our Family Invests on YouTube. You can watch this podcast and more over there. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that little bell icon too to make sure you never miss an episode. And now, back to the show.
Just like that. And it was 100% heartfelt and it was 100% true. And from that moment on, like my life up until that point was going in one direction. And I had a lot of fun in my life, but I knew after seeing you that, and after meeting you on that Canoe program, that I had to decide to change my life and go do whatever it took to get you to be with me. And honestly, I knew that this was going to be the last relationship I would ever have. I knew that from day one.
Which is so mind-boggling.
First moment.
I guess you're definitely more visionary than I am in our relationship. But to me, that's like very visionary.
Well, this is not something that happens every day, you know?
And you weren't supposed to be on that run.
No, I was not supposed to be even working that run.
Okay. Well, what do you love about your wife? What do you love about Caroline?
I love the way that you make me want to be the best version of myself. I want to wake up and make you proud every single day. And that's why I come down here and I work in my office or, you know, analyzing deals or buying properties or managing properties or looking at opportunities every day to try and make sure that it makes sense within our family dynamic. Yeah. Right? And to give us the experiences that we want to have when we're, you know, we have our downtime.
Yeah. And still have those those travel, those photography experiences, even if they're not bringing an income because it's supplemented somewhere else, which is really cool. Yeah. So, okay. Obviously, not everything goes smoothly. There's challenges, turning points. Was there any time that you wanted to throw in the towel during your real estate journey until now?
Yeah, pretty much at least once on every project.
I was gonna say
right? Like, nothing goes according to plan. Everything, you think that, you know, this is going to take X amount of time and it's going to cost X amount of dollars and you have that budgeted and it doesn't matter how accurate you think you are, there's always wrenches that get thrown in, right? And that's something where, you know, I'm Irish Italian. And so I have a tendency to explode. I'm also German and Austrian, right? So like I've got this mix of personalities within me where it's like, I'm a firecracker. So I do happen to explode many times on these projects. And I think it's you that helps to kind of bring me back down. You're more that water element that just like quenches the fire, you know?
Yeah. I can only handle you so spicy. Okay, so real estate, we've been on this path for quite a few years. Is there at any time something else you think about or want to do with your life, or is it just real estate?
Honestly, I love real estate because of what real estate brings to us and the opportunities that are there. Yeah. The people that I've met through the investing community have been some of the best people on the planet.
Salt
and we are definitely going to get a lot of real estate investors on this podcast.
And
right?
they're great people.
They are the best.
I'm so excited.
But I think that, and I don't think I'm the only real estate investor that's going to tell you this, but I don't think of real estate as my end goal.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm always open to new opportunities and I love the building phase, building a business, doing something new. That's why we're doing this podcast. Yeah. Right? Like we got to the stage with real estate where awesome, we have achieved what we needed to achieve to live the lifestyle we want to live. What's next?
Yeah.
And what's next is a podcast. Why? Are we going to make money off of this? Probably not. Right? We're doing it because, I'm doing it because I feel like this is something I want to do. I want to talk to people who inspire me and help inspire others because of that, right? Yeah. And whatever that leads to, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it feels right, and it feels right now.
And the doors will keep opening, and it's one of those things where you just are open to give, then you're open to receive. Yeah. So I'm excited about that.
Me too.
Yeah. Okay. How do you stay grounded when juggling work, family?
Yeah. So I think for me, it's putting blocks in, right? Meaning like I am not working past this hour at night or before this hour in the morning. And so, we started this a couple years ago, probably, where it was like, I get up early in the morning, as you know, and I'll meditate and I'll write in a journal and I'll go to the gym and I'll come home here, shower off, and you guys are still sleeping a lot of times, right? And that's fine, but that's my time.
Yeah.
I'm not working during that time because I need that time to be the best me, to get into my 10.0 self. And so when you guys get up, we have breakfast, and we always do that together, right? So that goal is now a reality. We have breakfast together every morning. We see Nico off to school. After that, then I'll go to work. But when Nico comes home from school at 3, maybe 4 o'clock, that's it. We cut the ties, turn the computer off. And so keeping that kind of groundedness, I think, keeps us in a really good family dynamic.
Yeah, and are you good at time blocking?
I'm not as good as I hope to be.
Okay.
But I'm getting better.
Yeah. And I think those parameters have just, because we built them into habit and lifestyle, it's a non-negotiable. It just happens, which is great. But it took us a while to build that too.
Yeah.
So, what is the best thing about being a dad?
Oh, man. It's that look that you see in your child when he's sleeping.
Yeah.
I love like he will annoy me to no ends during the day at times, but like looking in at him when he's sleeping, he's still my baby. He's 8 years old, but he's still my baby. And I love that. And I don't go on my phone very often, but if I do, a lot of times I'll get on my photos and I'll just scroll back like to 2016, 2017, 2018 and see all these memories of Nico in New Zealand or wherever, and it just warms my heart. And those memories you can't take away, and we've been able to do that through all the things that we've put in place in our lives.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love being a dad.
So what has fatherhood changed about you as a person?
Man, there's so many things that I want to teach Nico. And, right now he doesn't want to learn any of them. He wants to teach me how to play Fortnite. Okay.
And have you learned?
No, I can't do that.
Should put that on your list.
Maybe, who knows? But we have had, date days, and it's like, okay, it's your turn to make, the date for the day. What do you want to do? You and me all day. I want to play Minecraft. Okay, so we'll play Minecraft.
That's what he wants to do.
And you know what? I'm not opposed to that because it's bonding time, him and me. I don't like the screen time, but here and there, okay, if that's your thing,
yes,
let's bond.
Yes, I love it. We did kind of touch on your morning routine, on what you go through. Is there any routines that you have with me?
Yeah, so
that strengthen our relationship.
So up until now, we used to keep Wednesdays as a date day.
Yes.
So that was a non-negotiable for us. And we started off with just like, hey, we're going to do a couple hours in the morning together on Wednesdays. It'll be our coffee and wherever that leads us.
Yeah.
Right. And that was great. I love the conversations that we'd have. And a lot of times it would revert back to real estate or family or whatever.
Right.
But now we're recording these podcasts on a Wednesday, so we've got to switch to a new date day. But I'm confident that we will find another date day.
As long as it gets scheduled.
As long as it gets scheduled, it gets into our time blocking. But I love that. We spend, Friday nights, we do movie nights together, family nights, family all weekend.
Yeah.
And, we're going to continue that trend until Nico won't have it anymore. And if he doesn't, if he gets too old and wants to hang out with his friends, it'll just be us.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that too. We can watch adult movies again.
Oh, no. Yeah. Okay. How do you demonstrate love and care for your wife?
So I'm probably not the best at this. As you know, I am an acts of service kind of guy. So I feel love when I see things being done for me. dishes, laundry, whatever, those kinds of things. And that's how I reciprocate. But I also know that you are not as in tune with that. Yeah. So I've been trying to be better at doing the things that are more in your love language, right?
Which would demonstrate as so that people get ideas.
Yeah, gifts. No, physical touch. You love to be hugged and held and kissed and all that fun stuff. You know, I think just spending time together. I know you love when we're just hanging out.
I do,
right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, we try and do a lot of that too.
But if you would also like to do more dishes, I am so receiving of
that.
I
do all the dishes.
Yeah. Okay. How do you and I lift each other up from your perspective in times of struggles?
I think we're a good balancing act. I think that, you know, when I'm having a rough time, you come in and you know exactly what to do. It's not like yelling at me to get me to calm down or anything like that. It's the opposite. That. Yeah, we've gone through that route. But we have really good communication, and we understand each other's body language. We understand each other's physical language, and we're able to ping pong that a little bit, right? So like, okay, I'll take some of that pressure off you, you know, when you need it, and you take some of that pressure off me when I need it. And sometimes it's just a matter of giving space, right? Like a lot of times I just need space to cool down on my own. And you're really good at that, and hopefully I'm pretty good at taking the...
Learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. But what, on the flip side of struggles, what role do you see me playing in helping you get to the next level?
You know, like I mentioned earlier, I'm really impressed with the way that you make me want to be. But I'm also really impressed with the person that you've become. And so when we met, you were 18 years old, and you were still in school. And you were a kid. You never wanted to do anything except play at the beach and like find fish in tide pools.
Why do you do it like that?
Because the fish are like little and they run around. But anyway, I love that about you. I love that you're like so in the moment all the time. But I also see now that you have developed into this career as a pretty amazing real estate agent, right? And I'm not just saying that. I think one of the things is, you know, when I left the fire department and you became a realtor, you took the bull by the horns. And you had a different perspective than most agents have because you came from the investor side of things, right? You understood what to look for. And I think a lot of agents, especially in this market, don't really get that because it's not a tangible thing that's easy to grasp.
A lot of it is it's not read knowledge, it's hands-on, and we have gone through it physically. So
now I feel like the tables have turned, right?
Sure.
So when I was a firefighter, you were supporting me. Now that you're a real estate agent, I have to be the one to support you and help raise you up.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So if you were to give one piece of advice for couples who are wanting to work in business together, because that's a whole nother gamut, not relationship based, but also business, what would you share with them?
The most important thing for any relationship, and it doesn't matter if you're in business together or not, is communication. 100% is communication. Yeah. Okay, so there are going to be hard times, and you're going to say things that you regret. Okay.
Not me, but in general.
I was going somewhere with that, you know. Yeah. No, you're going to say things that you regret a lot of times, right? And the key is to be man enough to have that communication, or woman enough to have that communication to like be humble, get humble, apologize, be sorry, and be a team. Yeah. Because it's a team effort. 100%. Every single real estate investor that I know that's successful on a Uber level has someone behind them that is dynamic, right? And that is such an important key. And that's kind of really the reason why we're doing this podcast, is because a lot of times people know, you know, the face of a business or entrepreneurship, but they don't necessarily know the woman behind it or the man behind
the
the
backbone,
operation,
for sure.
right? And it is a team effort 100% of the time. So
I would agree with
communication.
that. Okay, so let's move to a segment where it's kind of lighter, more rapid fire questions.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Coffee.
So, humor me if you will. Imagine someone made a movie of your life. Who would you want to play you as an actor, Caroline, and your son?
Wow.
Yeah, I don't even know if you would know any actors that would be children.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So
I don't know any kid actors.
Yeah.
We're not very up on pop culture. For me, gosh, I don't know. I know I would want Kristen Craig to play you. I think she's the most beautiful woman in Hollywood.
Kristen, there you go.
Yep. For me, I don't know. Probably, Jason Statham would be awesome.
Similar, very similar. Okay. All right. Well, YouTube. Do you ever geek out on YouTube? And if so, what kind of rabbit hole do you go down?
Right. So when I was in the fire department, a lot of times I would fall asleep watching YouTube videos.
The same YouTube video.
A lot of times it was the same YouTube videos. And I'm a huge fan of music. I love guitars. And so I'll watch all kinds of, and I'm in love with the blues. So I love old blues music, and this, I mean older,
Buddy Guy, B.B. King,
30s,
even
40s,
before
50s,
that.
60s, 70s blues music, Delta blues kind of stuff. So I get into all that. David Gilmour, I think, is the greatest guitarist of all time. He's super, super bluesy. So I love watching documentaries, and I'll go down that rabbit hole. A lot of times it's old, Delta blues videos or something like that. But
Yeah. And that was great when you were at the fire department.
Yeah, I don't do that much anymore. Apparently no one else in the household enjoys that kind of
all right, well, let's wind down because enough about us. A piece of advice from a mentor that you would share.
I read a lot of books, and I think mentors can be, in person, people that hold your hand, or they can be people that you never even meet, but inspire you, right? And I don't know where I heard this first, but it's an old saying that goes back, who knows how long. But someone once told me, how you do anything is how you do everything. And that little piece of advice has stuck with me. I always hear it. It's like the angel and the
Nico.
devil on my shoulder, right? Like anytime I'm thinking about cutting a corner, how you do anything is how you do everything, right? And it's like,
is that the voice that comes through?
Yeah, it's like kind of like a Mickey Mouse voice. Yeah. So I think that's my best piece of advice, and that is definitely something that I instill upon Nico too, and he hates it, but I think it will make him a better person.
And I would say that's good for character building too. I mean, it's not just in one aspect of life. It's a very throughout characteristic.
Yeah.
I like that. What's one thing you're really excited about right now?
I'm really excited for this podcast. I'm really excited. This is the first episode, right?
It is.
Well, first one we're recording, right?
Yeah.
And so super excited to see what 2025 brings. Super excited to see if anyone actually signs up to be on this podcast. And super excited to see, where our life goes from here. Because I don't have the 30-year vision.
Yeah.
I've got like a 30-second vision. I don't know what's going to happen next week, right? And I'm open to those opportunities. I try to stay in the moment, but at the same time, I try and give myself a vehicle to ride, right? And that's going to be this podcast for the next year at least.
Yeah, we're committed. Okay, finally, if people want to connect with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, so I've been posting on Instagram a lot more at Our Family Invests.
Yes, thank you for that.
Yeah, come see us there or on our website, ourfamilyinvest.com. We've got all kinds of free stuff on there, resources, especially for real estate investors or those wanting to get into real estate investing. There's ebooks on how we've done it and how you can do it too.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thanks, Mike, for coming on our podcast, for being our guest. It's been a blast. And Can't wait to see more of what you do. And your wife sounds amazing, by the way.
She's amazing. We'll have to get her on this podcast.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Good idea.
All right. Thanks, Caroline. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for being part of the family today. If you want to see more of our journey through our personal life, businesses, and adventures, give us a follow on Instagram at Our Family Invests.
If you like this podcast, share this episode with a friend. And if you really want to support us, we would be so grateful if you would leave us a review on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. Your review helps us to reach a bigger audience and bring on more amazing guests. Thank you so much. We really, truly appreciate you.